आपने फौजी साहब हमारे उस्ताद की मौजूदगी में मुझे चीफ गेस्ट कहा है, तो ये इब्तिदा भी जो है अपने को खतरनाक सी करती है। बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम इन्नल्लाह व मलाइकतहु युसल्लूना अलन नबी या अय्युहल्लज़ीना आमनू सल्लु अलैहि व सल्लिमू तस्लीमा अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि व सल्लिम व बारिक अला सय्यिदिना मुहम्मद। Verily, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he was a rahmat for the alameen. Never had he been specified as a rahmat for only the Muslims. And the message of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and if you study his life and the history and life of his worthy companions, the Sahaba and Ahl Bayt, the one thing which comes out significantly out of those noble lives is standing against oppression, intolerance, and of course love. Sometimes we think that the religions, they only teach peace, and then we go into some superficial world. Let's come back to the reality, and yes, we should remember that there have been fights in the world, there have been killings in the world. People have gone and crucified people. There have been ethnic cleansings. So we should not turn our face from the reality. So all religions are yes based upon peace, but yes they also give a message of standing against oppression. And the greatest message of that is the life of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the event of Karbala. As my chief guest, Dr. Nur al-Qadri Sahib had said. When we look towards Pakistan, we must tell our kids, especially when we are standing here on the invitation of the University of Baltistan, Skardu, on the invitation of the people of Gilgit, Baltistan. So we must tell our youth, our kids, our up and coming generations that why was Pakistan made? What were the purposes of making Pakistan, and what were the views of Quaid-e-Azam? Why was a man like him, who was free of all ethnic bias, all religious bias? If you study the life of Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, you would realize that he was a man of principle. He would not budge an inch from a principle stand, but he was free. Believe me, when you study his life, when you read books upon him, unbiased books, you'll start loving him more and more and more. He was a man who gave a clear-cut message to the rest of Pakistan and the world when he was being asked in a Life magazine that Mr. Jinnah, when you talk about Pakistan, what sort of a country do you perceive in your mind? You're the founder of the nation. What do you want? How do you want to see Pakistan 50 years? This is my intrusion into that sentence. That how I perceive, you would have been asked. That how do you see Pakistan 50 or 100 years or 73 years to be exact down the road from 1947? And he said a very simple and a very cogent answer, which amplifies, I think, literally everything. And he said that I want Pakistan to become the pivot of the world. He wanted Pakistan to become the torch bearer for humanity in respect, not only in respect of politics, but in respect of humanity, and in respect of all those virtues for which all those 1,24,000 messengers of Allah came on this earth. And then he gave that speech, the famous speech of 11th August. He said that you are free to go to your temples, you are free to go to your masajids, you are free to go to your gurdwaras and your churches. The state has got nothing to do with that. The state has no right to interfere in your individual lives and interfere in your faiths. Yes, the state will be based upon Quran and Islam. Of course, when he was being asked, and he said in 1942 in front of Aligarh Muslim Student Federation, he said that people ask me about Pakistan, what sort of a form of a government will there be in Pakistan? And he said that who am I to decide what sort of a government will be based, what sort of a foundation of the government will there be in Pakistan? It will be based upon Quran. Quran was there for the humanity, and it will be there for us. It was present there 1300, 1400 years ago, and it will be there till the day of eternity. But the message is very clear. The white in our flag signifies the non-Muslim Pakistanis. When we even use the term minority, don't you find it a bit derogatory? Don't you feel that a person is being called a minority, he feels to be a bit of a less in Pakistan? So whenever I use this term, I say non-Muslim Pakistanis. The only difference between you and me is that you bear some other faith, I practice some other faith, but we are Pakistanis. Diversity, as Muhammad Ali Jinnah's famous saying, that faith, unity and discipline. In each and every house when you see, no two persons are alike. The beauty of the world is in its diversity. Pakistan is such a beautiful country. When you go to the west, or you go to the east, when you go to Africa, or when you go to Gulf countries, you go to Europe, you go to America, rarely would you see a country like Pakistan which has got all weathers. We have deserts, we have plain areas, we have fertile lands, we have mountains, we have probably one of the few highest peaks in the world, including K2 and Karakoram. We have ethnic diversity, we have Pashtuns, we have Sindhis, we have Balochs, we have, of course, Punjabis, and we have Gilgit Baltistanis, and we have Kashmiris. We must tell our kids that why was Pakistan being made? The one thing which comes into my mind after studying the whole Pakistan movement, studying the lives and the message of Allama Iqbal, who was the visionary, on his vision, on his foundation, the building was being made by Muhammad Ali Jinnah, and that was standing against oppression. If Muslims had not been persecuted in United India, probably Muhammad Ali Jinnah, he was the greatest advocate of Muslim-Hindu unity. If you study his early life when he joined Congress, he was the greatest advocate of Muslim-Hindu unity. But because of people like Nehru and people like Gandhi, he was being forced to go for the claim of making Pakistan. So when we made Pakistan, it was made against oppression. Is there any place for oppression in a country like Pakistan, which was made against ethnic cleansing, against religious persecution, against oppression, against the faculties and the portion of societies which does not preach or does not practice the main religions? Yes, there have been occurrences in Pakistan. Yes, there had been occurrences in Pakistan in which minorities had faced difficult times. But don't say that would be farther from reality. But I say it vehemently, and I say it in front of anybody else, I say with 100% clarity that Pakistan is a country where minorities, non-Muslims, they have never been persecuted as a state policy. The government of Pakistan, the state of Pakistan has always been tolerant to non-Muslims. Never have there been any example of state advocating ethnic cleansing or cleansing based upon religious beliefs. Unlike Narendra Modi, in whose country not only Muslims but the Christians, of course the Sikhs, and even the lower caste Hindus, which are called Dalits, they have been persecuted, their lives have been made miserable. Even their national heroes, what what to name them, what to say about them. They had to keep their religious secret so that to keep themselves away and safe from religious persecution and keep their careers intact. Their greatest film stars, their greatest cricketing heroes, one of their greatest writers, they cannot even profess their religion in public because of the fear of persecution that Narendra Modi's Nazist RSS theology will not leave them at peace in India. And same case with Israel, which is based upon hatred. The state of Israel was based and made upon hatred. That's why one of the greatest tolerant politicians of the recent past, like Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who was free of religious bias, he was forced to claim and say that Israel is the illegitimate child of Europe and West. So we in Pakistan, we have to make sure that we honor the whites, the crescent, and the star in our flag. And how do we honor that? We honor that by giving respect to sisters like Senator Krishna and Bishop Ashif Sahib, by giving them honor and telling them that though we may be apart in terms of religion, but we are residents of one house. And inshallah, Pakistan will become the torch bearer of all the oppressed classes in the world. Yes, we are weak today. Yes, we may be weak today. Yes, we may be not in that position. Yes, we are a neutral state, but we have to go to IMF and World Banks. But this will not be forever, inshallah. Together we will make Pakistan strong. And remember, when Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he was not even given the message at that time in his early life, one of the first person to claim that he is going to become a very noble person, probably a prophet in those times, when he was not being declared a prophet as yet, was Warqa bin Nawfal, who belonged to Christian faith. And the first king or ruler of the area who gave support to the migrant Muslims was Najashi, who was, I think, if I may not be wrong, was a preacher and a practicing Christian. The king of Najash, Habsha. And when Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam formed the state of Medina, which is, he formed the first constitution probably of the mankind, in which all religious rights were given to the non-Muslims, equal rights in terms of being given the civil rights. And he even once decided in a civil case against the Muslim in favor of the non-Muslim. He was very kind upon the non-Muslims. Sometimes he would even pick them in his lap when he would be going to the masjid. And remember that famous event when Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, when he was going to a masjid, and when a Jew was in front of him and he decided to delay his prayers, and he did not follow him in his steps. He followed him because he was senior to him. There was this famous occurrence once when Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu was going somewhere. He was the fourth righteous caliph. He was going somewhere, and there was that person who was sitting there and who was asking for alms. Probably he was a Christian, and probably there was this another occurrence too, in which there was this thirsty person. I will tell you about that too. Yes, this Christian was a blind, and Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu said that when he was in power, when his body was in good conditions, you people took full advantage of him, and now when he is weak and he is blind, you left him to beg. So he directed that he should be paid from the Muslims, and it should be assigned a proper monthly allowance. And when Imam Jafar, he was going somewhere, there was this person who was Jew, who was thirsty, and he was begging for water. He sent one of his companions and said, go and ask him what's his problem. He came back and said, he's thirsty, but he's Jew. So he said to him, isn't he a man? Isn't he a human being? Go and give him water. There was, in the end, I would say, I would like to close upon a few sentences. As it was being said by John Donne, that every man is an island, not unto itself. The death of every man diminishes me, because I am involved in humanity. So don't send to tell for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee. मतलब ये है कि हर आदमी जो है दूसरे से जुड़ा हुआ है. हर आदमी जिसको दुख होता है, दूसरे को भी, अगर वो इंसान है उसको दुख होगा. भूल जाए मुसलमान है किसी भी फिर, अगर वो इंसान है किसी को दुख पहुंच रहा है, he'll feel the pain. And that's why, even in the time of war, what is the message? The message is very clear to the Muslims. وَقَاتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ الَّذِينَ يُقَاتِلُونَكُمْ وَقَاتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ الَّذِينَ يُقَاتِلُونَكُمْ وَلَا تَعْتَدُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُعْتَدِينَ. And fight with those who fight with you. Yes, Islam is the basic tenet of Islam. Jihad is the basic tenet of Islam. So Allah says, fight with those who fight with you, but don't transgress. Because Allah does not like transgressors. So yes, you can fight in defense, but don't transgress, because Allah does not like transgression. And inshallah, together, the message of Qaid-e-Azam is very clear. The message of the state is very clear. Pakistan is the state which is against all sort of ethnic and religious persecutions and oppressions. Never had there been a one instance in which we had, as a state, persecuted any religious community. Any religious community. And as our recent and the present Prime Minister, Mr. Imran Khan, I've seen him from close range, worked with him for around a decade now, liked him, loved him as a hero when I was a young boy, growing up in school maybe, the cricket captain of Pakistan. It's a good fortune for me that Allah has given me the opportunity to work in this cabinet, which if we perform, provided if we perform, because opportunity never strikes twice. If we succeed, this is going to be a revolutionary cabinet for Pakistan after 70 odd years. This man, whose name is Imran Khan, I have seen him from close range. He's a practicing Muslim, he's a Ghulam-e-Rasul, but at the same time, he is very open-minded. He's free from these, extremist tendencies, since he has probably lived half of his life in the West, so he knows how they persecute those who are not from the mainstream communities. I still remember way back in my early college days, I read one of his books, All Round View, in which he said that once when he was playing county cricket, he was saying that once they would see this racism even in established countries like UK, that once there would be black Africans bowling in a county match, and a white man would comment, "Oh, it's very black here." So he had mentioned that way back in early 90s in his books. So he realizes what ethnic cleansing is, what religious persecution is, what exclusionism is. So to counter that, one of the first steps which Mr. Imran Khan took was the establishment of the Kartarpur corridor. To tell the minorities, the non-Muslim Pakistanis of Pakistan, the Sikhs, the Hindus, everybody, the Christians, everyone, that yes, the state is with you. You are being oppressed, the state will not see you in the light of being Muslim or non-Muslim. State will see you in the light of being a Pakistani whose rights have been abused. Inshallah, will we together, inshallah, fight for the rights of the oppressed? Will we do that, inshallah? Will we make Pakistan a country which can intellectually be a superpower of the world? You cannot become a superpower only based upon nuclear assets. Yes, that is your defense, that is your deterrence. But the countries which have become superpower in the last 1,000 of histories, you will realize that they have invested in humanity, they have invested in their youth, they have invested in knowledge, and that was the first message which came to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The first message which came to him was not La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. The first message which came to him was Iqra. Pad, apne Rabb ka naam leke pad, study in the name of Allah, study. And it's an honor for me and my teacher and my senior, Dr. Noor Al-Qadri, that we are being invited to such a worthy place, a place where teachers are here, where students are here. It's always good to be in a society where you are sitting amongst some of the learned people of their society. So it's good to be amongst the teachers. So sometimes you learn something that's not bad for health. And I would again like to thank, of course, my worthy Vice Chancellor from Allama Iqbal Open University too. So So I forgot him in the start. Thank you so much. Together we stand for Pakistan. Together we stand for humanity. Together we stand for Kashmir. Together we stand for the rights of the people of Palestine and all those people who have been persecuted. May them be in the American subcontinent. May them be in anywhere else, especially in Israel, especially in India, but of course in Kashmir. Pakistan. Pakistan. Thank you so much.